Opinions stated by various contributors to the Money and Business Show and related programs are not to be considered as endorsed by Radio Shalom, its employees. Visitors to this program are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusions. Please read your prospectus and consult with your own investment advisor.
Live from the studios of Radio Shalom, 1650 AM in Montreal, Canada, the city of joie de vivre, the world capital of culinary variety, and the home of the Montreal Canadiens. This is the Money and Business Show with your host, Samuel Ezerzer. Every week, Samuel and his guests discuss money, investments, financial services, and the world economy. Over the next hour, you can have your questions about business and personal finances answered. So call 514-738-4100, extension 200, to speak with Samuel and his guests. And now, here is the host of the Money and Business Show, Samuel Ezerzer.
Money and business. America's bubble economy actually predicted the popping of the housing bubble, the collapse of the private debt bubble, and the fall of the stock market bubble, the decline of the consumer spending, and the widespread pain all this is about to inflict on the rest of a vulnerable multi-bubble economy. There will be time also, the eventual bursting of the dollar bubble and the government debt bubble, which are still ahead. This is what some of my guests, but a few weeks ago, Robert Whittemer, told me that the dollar and the government debt are still yet to come. Wow. And we're still in 2014, and we're right on course for a future cataclysmic financial debt bubble and the dollar. The reason why I'm talking today about the dollar and the debt that is coming in the future is because the next, let's say 14 years, not even 20 years, maybe 10 years, are going to see a whole change in how the financial system works. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about. My name is Samuel Ezerzer, your host of the Money Business Show, Radio Shalom, CJRS 1650 AM in Montreal. Thank you for tuning in live with our business studios headquarters in Montreal, the financial capital, and the home of the greatest hockey team, the Montreal Canadiens. We have another great show for you today. And as always, you can call if you have any questions, comments, or even criticisms on today's topic. Please call us directly at 514-738-4100. Our extension is still 200. Again, 514-738-4100, extension 200. If you want to talk, if you want to tell me how you feel about, your finances and the dollar and the economy and just about everything else. And you can actually email me at themoneybusinessshow@gmail.com if you have any inquiries. You can also visit our website. A lot of my great shows are there at the www.radio-shalom.today. All of our shows are archived there. Now today we're going to be talking about fractional reserve banking. I know most people don't even know what that is, but I'm going to explain it to you how it all works into the system. And hopefully maybe they'll change the system, because the way it is right now, it's a total disaster. Total disaster, this fractional reserve banking. It can, if I was the Federal Reserve or anybody making the decisions, I'll probably throw it in the garbage. And also we're going to be talking about the mechanism of how it works. How actually the dollar works, or actually how money works. Okay, so it's not going to be easy. I'm going to be talking a lot, how the market works and how it all relates to you. But I guess, the party is still going on in the stock market. Instead of, rather than allow it to correct itself, it's been going on for 7 to 8 years already. The market's been going up since the last correction. And here we're limping along early stages of another, I feel, another boom or even bubble created by this massive monetary fiscal stimulus. Which the Feds wants to keep going and going and going. Every time they talk about, going from 65 billion to 50 billion, it's called tapering, the market actually sells off. There's a reason why, and I'll explain to you a little bit later. What a crazy world I feel like we live in, where the performance of the economy depends on one person, name Janet Yellen, or the previous Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke, or in my time, actually, it was Greenspan that I used to listen to him all the time. I've been in the business for, in the financial system for over, I would say, 13 years. Maybe a little more than that. Bobby, let's say about 14 years, give or take a couple of months or so. And I still remember Ben Bernanke talking and every word, and we're all, oh my God, what did he say? Greenspan, the same thing. Actually, Greenspan, I couldn't even understand what he said. I just let the market decide if it was good or not. But wouldn't it be better if our economy be better off, you know, which entrepreneurs or even consumers or people who understand the system decide how the market works, not somebody out there, you know, from the Federal Reserve who actually, you know, drops indirect hints of what they're going to do. I mean, people don't understand how the market works, or you know, or seen MSNBC where the Federal Reserve all of a sudden, oh, today we're not raising interest rates, and this is going to happen, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, this is what most people at Wall Street are waiting for. They're just waiting for that. They're waiting for that moment for Ben Bernanke at that time or Greenspan to talk, and this is what directs our market, and this is what keeps our market going. I mean, instead of fundamentals. I mean, I thought, you know, when I you know, learned the system, I thought the fundamental system of economic factors, the real economy, a fundamental of the financial system. You know, what I'm trying to actually say is there's just no more fundamental system anymore. We're hanging on in just too many words. It's not based on anything else anymore. It's just based on rhetoric between the Federal Reserve and the markets right now. It's not fundamentally type of any, you know, type of economy. It's just a bunch of morons talking and playing with your mind and psychological game with the investors and the marketplace. You know, what an idea, fundamental. You know, just think of it, just an idea, the fundamentals. Now, we have to understand what's really going on in the labor force before we understand how the mechanism of how the money works. Okay, I mean, if people want to know it, there's about 91.8 million people in the United States right now that are not working. 50 million of them are on coupons. The share of Americans in the workforce has sunk to its lowest point in 35 years. It's a sign of both, I think, maybe aging population and the unemployed people who have given up on the job hunt. That's what I think. Dr. Paul Greg Roberts, we're going to be hearing some clips along the way of Dr. Paul Greg Roberts, who's been on my show last year. I couldn't believe it. He said that once you're on unemployment and it runs out, that's it. You're not counted anymore. Finished. You're not counted anymore. So all those people who are not counted, there's just so many out there. So whatever figures they give you, oh, you know, it's 7%, now it's 6.7. Of course it's 6.7% because we're not counting the real people who are not working. The drop could accelerate, you know, in months ahead because Americans who have been out of work for the last 6 months have lost their unemployment benefits. So what do? I guess I think we're all an illusion. I mean, this is like, I mean, we're going to be playing this song here. I mean, it's one of my favorites in the 80s. I think the Federal Reserve or the American system is just like an illusion, or they're delusional. Bunch of clowns running the financial system. I think they like it that way. Yeah, that's right. It's all an illusion. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Alex. Wow. An illusion. That's what it is. I know most people are probably saying, well, you know, what's Sam talking about here? Well, you know, even I looked up one of the quotes, and this is James Abraham Garfield served as the 20th President of the United States after completing 9 consecutive terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. And he said, whoever controls the volume of money in any country is absolute master of all industry and commerce. That's what he said. Even Voltaire in 1694, he was the famous writer and philosopher in France. And he said it in the 1700s. Paper money eventually returns to its intrinsic value. You know what the intrinsic value is? Zero. That's what it is. Zero. At the end of the day, if you start printing and printing, and you got the printing presses, and it's just not, you know, it's just not the way to go, the way they're doing it out there. But anyways, look, we're going to be going to a station break right now, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about how the fractional reserve banking system works. And I know this is going to be like more of an educational type of show today, but I'll try to make it a little bit more entertaining in some ways. But try to understand how the system works and why do we have all these little bubbles that all of a sudden, wham, there we go, the market is in half. When it comes to real estate and the debt crisis and so on, why do we have all these bubbles? And I'll explain to you that a little bit later. My name is Samuel Ezerzer for the Money and Biz Show, Radio Shalom, CJRS 1650 AM Montreal. And also we're going to be talking a little bit more about the fractional reserve banking, something that I've studied a long time ago, and you know, I went back to the books again to look into it, and this is where our main problem is. We're going to be discussing that, and also we're going to be hearing a little bit more, you know, the music. If you're going to be hearing some of the music that I'll be playing a little bit more, it's called, you know, Justin Illusion, you know, in the 80s. Yeah, there we go. One of my favorite songs. And the reason why we're playing Illusion is because really the Federal Reserve is playing with illusion with all of us here, thinking that the market are up so high, you know, and it all has to do with the earnings. I mean, you got to remember that 3%, I think it was about 3 or 4% of the earnings last year compared to 30% of the stock market rise. Something is in balance over here. So the market is delusional, and the markets are up a lot, and this is all has to do with the you know, with the printing of all this 60 billion and trillions of dollars out there that are in the system. I'm going to give you a little quote here on our past president, like a shot in the head. What's his name? Abraham Lincoln. And he said this, okay, before I go into the fractional reserves, he said, Abraham Lincoln said this, is very important. There should be no war upon property or the owners of property. Property is the fruit of labor. Property is desirable. It's a positive good in the world. That some should be rich shows that the others may be rich. Hence, in just encouragement to industry and enterprise. He said this, I have two great enemies. He said this, Abraham Lincoln. The Southern Army in front of me, and the financial institutions to my rear. Of the two, the one in my rear is the greatest foe. He said that. And who was that? The Federal Reserve. That was Abraham Lincoln. And you know, Abraham Lincoln murdered, just like JFK. And I don't want to go into the conspiracy theories. I'm not much into the conspiracies, but I mean, when you put two and two together, they were the only ones that actually printed their own money instead of the Federal Reserve. Look what happened to them. So let's see how the money, or the process by which money is created, or the mechanism, which is the fractional reserve banking. Try to understand fractional reserve banking. Okay, write it down. Fractional, I don't know how you're going to remember fractional or reserve. I mean, like Federal Reserve and banking, obviously. But fractional reserve banking, it's something that I want coming out of your mouth more often these days, because more we're talking about banking, or, you know, I don't even talk about banks anymore. I call them banksters now, like mobsters, banksters. So John Kenneth Galbraith, he taught at the Harvard University many years and was active in politics, serving in the administration of Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy, and Lyndon Johnson, among other roles. He served as the United States ambassador to India under Kennedy. He was one of the few, two-time recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He said, this is what he said, the process by which money is created is so simple that the mind is repelled. We're about to discuss the very thing of what happened here. So what is fractional reserve banking is? Well, take a pen, and I'll explain to you a very simple term. And if you don't understand it, I'll probably put it up on YouTube, or it'll be replayed on Monday night at 7 o'clock, and or it'll be in the archives, okay? Basically, let's say I had $100,000, and don't ask me where I got the $100,000 because the money's been created somewhere, but let's say I had $100,000, and all of a sudden I go to this bank, and this bank says, oh, hey Sam, thank you very much, we're going to deposit we're going to open up a checking account, and it's $100,000.